What if you wanted to get funding for making a new board game or a piece of software or a computer game by finding people passionate about your creation and selling to them before building the product? For the last decade, the obvious answer would have been go on Kickstarter. It's been a fantastic platform for enabling countless creators to combine their fundraising and their sales and marketing, and so make sure they have the money to do what they want and they don't build something that nobody wants. But nowadays, there's a new kid in town: NFTs. And in particular, the PFP or profile picture project model that's been evolving over the last year. These have enabled projects to raise anywhere from a few $100,000 to, in the case of Moonbirds, $70 million. The two are surprisingly similar. Which one should you pick if you're wanting to fund and build something right now? Keep watching to find out. First, let's get something out of the way. Some people will say, wait a minute, Daniel, Kickstarter and PFP projects are completely different. You can't compare them. And sure, there are differences, but the similarities are actually quite striking. First of all, they both have tokens that represent some kind of promise or expectation. Wait a minute, where's the token in Kickstarter? Well, in Kickstarter, when you back a project, there is in fact a kind of token created. The token is stored exclusively in Kickstarter's own database, and you can't take it out of there and trade it or do anything creative with it. But it's still a token. NFTs are also just lines in a database, but the database is on a global, decentralized blockchain and you can do stuff with it. The Kickstarter token represents a promise that when the product launches, you'll get something. Depending on how much you paid, it might be a t-shirt or some stickers or a board game, a signed edition of the board game with hand-painted miniatures and so on. In NFT PFP projects, you also obviously get a token. The token also represents a promise that when the project builds something of value, some of that value will be shared with token holders in some way and reflected in either the price or the usefulness of the token or even both. So the two are pretty similar on the face of it. What are the key differences? The first obvious one in favor of NFT PFP projects is that the tokens can be traded. This is a big one. The first impact of that is that it reduces the risk for the buyers. If I back a Kickstarter project and then later realize I don't need it, there's little I can do about it. Just wait until the product is delivered and try to fob it off on a friend or something. With NFTs, if I change my mind, I can just sell the token on the open market for whatever price it's worth at the time. That also opens up a different mode of backing projects. Because you can't trade Kickstarter tokens, there's little point in buying several copies of the product unless you are a professional reseller. NFT tokens open up the possibility for every backer to be an investor. Because you can resell them, you can buy several tokens if you think their value will go up as time goes on. Then when their value has gone up, you can resell them and turn what on Kickstarter would have been a straight cost into a profit. Of course, like all investments, that doesn't always work out, but it's possible, which means that projects that design the NFT in the right way might be able to expect some buyers to buy many tokens, not just one, even though they're not professional resellers. The advantage here is clearly towards NFTs. On Kickstarter, if a project doesn't reach its funding goals, buyers aren't charged anything. With NFT projects, at the moment, you spend the money when you mint, and there's no way to get it back if the project flounders before raising enough money, which happens quite frequently. This sucks for both buyers and project owners because the buyer might be stuck with a worthless token, and the project owner might be on the hook for a promise they can't fulfill because they don't have enough funding. This could easily be fixed by better smart contract design. So I think we'll eliminate this downside sooner or later. But for now, the advantage here is clearly for Kickstarter. Selling things either as NFTs or on Kickstarter requires a skillful marketing push. With Kickstarter, this is where it ends. But with NFT PFPs, if you choose to, you can then use the ownership and identification that people feel towards the tokens they bought to gather a community of superfans. And they can and do help to market the product in various ways. They can even help you co-create the product if you approach them and involve them in the right way. There's no reason in theory why this couldn't be done with Kickstarter, but it rarely is done, whilst it's common practice with NFTs. The advantage on this one is clearly towards NFTs. Kickstarter projects can rug too. There are plenty of stories of high-profile Kickstarter projects that imploded for various reasons, or just absconded with the money. That said, they are a minority of the total volume on Kickstarter. This is not true for NFTs, where a huge proportion of projects are scams or rugs, where the founders just don't have the skills or drive to actually deliver on the promise they made when selling the NFT, or the promise was simply missing. In other words, there was no product, just a Ponzi fever dream. And of course, there's a generous helping of actual thieves operating in this area. I believe this will improve over time, as the quality of founders changes from people who just discovered NFTs during the bubble last year and got dollar signs in their eyes to people who actually want to fund and build something. For now, though, the advantage is squarely on Kickstarter's side. Kickstarter fees are a very modest 5%, plus 3 to 5% of transaction fees, so up to about 10%. Kickstarter's fees are actually very fair given all that it provides, but still quite steep, especially for larger projects. In the NFT world, most of that is being provided by whatever blockchain you choose, along with the ecosystem of marketplaces and other apps available for it, so fees can be much lower. You do need to deploy your own contract, which for layer 1 Ethereum can be anything from a few $100 to a few $1,000, depending on gas fees at the time. Right now, it will be on the low end, since the market is pretty dead. In the future, this might not be a problem if NFT projects are built on Polygon or any layer 2 solutions that has low gas fees. Advantage is, again, towards NFTs. While you're here, why don't you kickstart that like button and subscribe so you get to see more videos like this one. NFT PFP projects are so new that most people, even those creating them, don't really know what it is they're selling. This leads to a lot of empty projects that simply can't deliver any value in the long run because there's nothing actually being built other than hype. Some NFT projects work very hard, deliberately or not, to disguise this emptiness from buyers so that they can continue to exist. Kickstarter forces creators to outline very clearly what will be built and how it will be delivered to backers. There is no room for mumbo jumbo like, we'll build the next Disney franchise, buy one of our characters, or buying a piece of the culture, or this project is all about community. You know what product you're getting at the end, and so you can evaluate whether it's worth the money. This clarity puts the advantage solidly on Kickstarter's side. Because Kickstarter tokens are locked up on their platform, you can't do anything clever with them other than what Kickstarter explicitly designed them for. But NFTs are on open blockchains, so there's no real limit to how you can use them creatively. Especially if the product is digital, NFTs purchased by early Kickstarter-style backers could have interactions with the eventual product. For software or a game, they could give special perks or visual flexes like rare skins in an interactive game like Fortnite, or access to early beta features for software. This isn't possible at all with Kickstarter, so once again the advantage goes to NFTs. Kickstarter does their accounting in stablecoins. NFTs are usually denominated in magic internet coins that can go up and down in value by tens of percent in a single day. The benefit, if you want to call it that, of using magic coins is that, much like with Disney bucks or funfair tokens, people become less aware of how much money they're spending, and so they might be willing to spend more recklessly. If you're trying to sell out as quickly as possible, that can seem like a benefit. But it should be fairly obvious that trading in stablecoins would be way better for everyone. It would reduce the complexity and is probably a requirement before the masses decide to back Kickstarter-style projects via NFTs. I believe this will also change in time, but once again, the advantage is with Kickstarter for now. Kickstarter campaigns are born, succeed or fail, deliver a product, and then vanish into the dustbin of history, leaving nothing behind but traces in Kickstarter's private database. Although digital items are essentially created, because they are locked up inside Kickstarter, they have no impact outside whatever Kickstarter precisely intended. NFTs are much more flexible. Even if the NFT represented the purchase of a physical item like a board game, the buyer might keep the NFT after collecting their board game, and over time, it might become a collector item. Imagine the value of a token that was associated with the very first edition of Dungeons & Dragons. Moreover, this opens up interactions with other projects, either by the same creator or others. If you're building a new kind of tabletop role-playing game, you can offer a special discount to backers who can prove that they have also backed, say, Gloomhaven, by showing that they have that token. That can help creators to reach their core market. The advantage here is clearly towards NFTs. So which is better? Did you really think I'd declare a clear winner? Well, actually I will, sort of. For now, unless you're willing to jump into a chaotic Wild West where nobody really knows what they're doing, many essential tools are missing, and basically you need to figure out most of the infrastructure for yourself, Kickstarter is the obvious winner for both buyer and creator. However, every single point that Kickstarter won in this round can shift in favor of NFTs. So as the space evolves and matures, I expect that one of two things will happen. Either Kickstarter will themselves start offering NFTs to track the presale, or they will be outcompeted by a company that does. Ultimately, Kickstarter tokens are just another form of digital property that's currently locked up on someone's server, but it doesn't need to be. Over the next few years, that will change as the digital property revolution gets underway. If you want to hear more about the broad impacts of how digital property can turn our world upside down, check out this short video I made earlier. GM, and good luck.